breathtaking. It was just interesting because a lot of his questions were my husband has my husband's not you. And I'm like, how is he here? Like, no, I actually have to
I'm not coming.
don't say that. Really?
You don't need a life jacket. All you need to do is climb.
It was really nice.
Calling this meeting of the Special Council Work Session of November 16th, 2022 to order. Good evening, everybody. Council, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Newell?
Here.
Ms. Atra?
Here.
Ms. Weltman?
Here.
Mr. Dago?
Here.
Mr. Lemay?
Here.
Mr. Gentile?
Here.
Dr. Wong?
Here.
Good evening, everyone. We have a few things on our agenda tonight, so
Pledge.
we're going to begin, however, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'll always be here to remind you, Mr. Mayor, don't worry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first agenda item is the approval of the minutes of October 19th, 2022. Could we have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, for the approval.
Mr. Newell?
Yes.
Ms. Atra?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Dago?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have some guests here this evening. I want to welcome the Director of the Cuyahoga County Emergency Management Services, Mark Christie. Thank you, Mr. Director, for being here tonight. We are honored to have a presentation this evening of the Ready Certify recertification plaque to our Pepper Pike Fire Department by the Cuyahoga County Office of Emergency Management. Chief Frazier, if you'll join us in a minute, and I'll turn over to Mr. Christie.
Thank you very much for having us out tonight. And it's not just a award for the fire departments, for really for the whole community. And again, just to start, my name is Mark Christie. I'm with the county's Office of Emergency Management. A lot of what we do during times of peace is trying to plan, train, exercise with our public safety partners in effort to make sure that when bad things do happen in the county, natural disasters or anything like that, people that have to work with one another are going to be equipped and able to do that. And obviously, having 59 municipalities, we have many different fire departments, police departments, service departments, all of which on a day-to-day basis are sort of working within their own political jurisdictional lines. However, when, like I said, bad things happen, mutual aid is necessary, and people, communities, agencies have to collaborate and coordinate to ensure that there's an effective response recovery effort for larger issues. So, like I mentioned, when emergencies aren't happening, we do a lot of planning and training, exercising. One of the programs that we have implemented several years ago is our Ready Certified program, and it's a certification program for communities in Cuyahoga County and large organizations. And the program is a standards-based program of what we think are benchmarks for an effective emergency management program at the lowest local level, community level. And so the standards are they're rigorous, but they're attainable. They're based off of lessons learned and national best practices. And this is a voluntary process to go through. Communities are not required to do it. It's really just a demonstration of communities that want to go above and beyond to ensure that their communities are prepared and able to respond and recover emergencies as effectively as possible. And so going through this process, we believe puts communities in that position. And it's not something that every community goes through or organization. Again, it's voluntary, and it's extra work for people like your police and fire chief to do some extra planning and training to ensure that Pepper Pike is in the best possible position to be prepared for emergencies. So Pepper Pike, 5 years ago, went through this process to initially certify. And then 5 years later, they gluttons for punishment. They went through again for the recertification process. So it really is a proud moment for your community and a testament to Pepper Pike, commitment to making sure that the community is as safe and prepared as possible. Again, you're part of an exclusive club going through this. And so I just, we wanted to be here tonight to officially recognize that accomplishment and thank you for your dedication to public safety in our county. And with that, I can read the plaque. And
Could you tell us what are the 2 or 3 key things that this program implements? Is it communication? Is it equipment? Is
Sure.
it, yeah,
So,
highlights just.
probably the most fundamental thing that a lot of the other standards splinter off of are developing an emergency operations plan. Believe it or not, communities oftentimes might not make that effort. So community operations plan is basically detailing the processes and policies that Pepper Pike would have to respond to any type of emergency in your community. Other standards pertain to certain training. If you're familiar with the federal government, there's a lot of standardization that comes from there. And so in emergency management, public safety, NIMS is sort of the gospel. It's the National Incident Management System. We want to make sure that all of our first responders, starting with the chiefs, have proper NIMS training. Again, that's going to further our ability to work with one another across jurisdictional lines. So standards pertaining to that, making sure that the chiefs are implementing NIMS training programs within their communities. Exercising, we believe that developing plans is one thing, but testing them and then making them better is really what you want to do. So to accomplish that, we want communities to go through exercises. And that's really a simulated emergency that you can be as simple as a tabletop exercise where you're just talking through discussion-based scenario of how you respond and recover from a given incident, or it can be full-scale functional exercise where you're actually moving equipment and physically simulating a response. So it's things like that again require extra time, effort, and commitment. And some communities are very good at it and see the value in doing that. Others might not be quite at that level. Pepper Pike, obviously going through this process, is demonstrating that they value that. And again, this is a recertification. So they've continued. You guys have continued your commitment in trying times too. Just to think about the past several years with COVID-19. A lot of these things are not required, but we feel they're important to do so anyway. It is especially difficult to do those types of things when there's other disruptions that are taking you away from your focus already.
And how are the plans documented and communicated internally? Is there a big notebook someplace that says this is what happens?
So if we're talking specifically about the emergency operations plan, Chief Frazier coordinated that on your side. And so that would be residing with the fire chief and police chief. And it would be, Chief, if you want to talk more about this, feel free to cut me off. But typically the planning process in general is not just one person doing it all. You want to involve other, sets of eyes and people that are going to have responsibility and roles and expectations within that plan. And so that's, we have templates that help communities prepare documents like that sort of encourage that collaboration. Chief, do you want to add anything to that?
No, you're doing great.
Does that answer most of your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I've for a number of years had the privilege of serving on the executive committee of the Cuyahoga County Emergency Services Advisory Board. And I've gotten to know the director in that capacity for a number of years. And it's a privilege for us to be recognized by you and the department. I want to congratulate our chiefs and all of our department heads who participate in this readiness preparedness program. We do go the extra mile, I believe, in our departments, and the recognition of this is truly appreciated. So thank you.
And I appreciate you always being willing to partner on countywide initiatives. I mean, that it's a struggle for us sometimes. So communities that are understand the bigger picture and are willing to help support those initiatives, and through your involvement in the CSAD committee and then chiefs, they're always willing to help support, and we appreciate that from the county level as well. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Let's, Chiefs, why don't you join me and we'll receive this plaque.
So I've talked enough, but I'll read the plaque. And
Sure.
and it is in recognition of Pepper Pike's enduring commitment to emergency preparedness and the safety and well-being of its citizens. It is with great honor that Pepper Pike is declared recertified in Cuyahoga County's Ready Certified Emergency Management Program. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your commitment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get our picture taken.
And try one right here. And one more. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Yeah.
for coming out.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. Yep.
Chief, why don't you hold on to that for now?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that staying for the whole meeting? All righty, we're going to move on then. And again, thank you, chiefs and all the directors for your participation, earning us this recognition. Next, I would like to introduce Jackie Godick of who is the co-chair of the Orange Area Service Committee. Good evening, Jackie. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Well, thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. I am the co-chair of the Orange Area Service Committee, and Melanie is one of our illustrious members. We're formed, we're 501c3, formed back in 1962. Our mission is to help people within the Orange Schools District, so not necessarily families in the district, anyone who's living within the district with emergency needs. So typically that takes the form of, someone maybe switched jobs, missed a couple of weeks paycheck, they need help with that month's rent, medical bills, utilities, and then some fun stuff like helping kids with funding their band trip to Florida in the spring, things like that. So we kind of take the whole range. We have a website where people can apply confidentially. We reach out to them, kind of get their story, figure out if it fits within our mission, and try to help, as many people as we can. So in general, our organization, I think, flies a little bit under the radar. There are plenty of people I've spoken with over the past few years who, have lived in this area for, decades and they haven't heard of us. So we're trying to raise our profile a little bit, let people know that we're here for really two reasons. The first is fundraising, of course. Basically we just operate pretty much on an annual mailer, which everyone in this room who lives in the Orange School District got at some point in the past couple weeks. And it's one of those things where you probably see it and it says resident and you chuck it in the recycling bin. Pay attention because it's the only way that we pretty much raise funds to sustain us through the whole year. And secondly, just to let you guys know that we are here to help. And I think living in a community like Pepper Pike, surrounding area, relatively affluent, you don't really know that there are people really struggling, and we are here to help them, get through a rough patch. So if family, friends, neighbors, anyone who you think they might need a little extra help right now, send them our way. We have, like I said, our website's up. If they're not comfortable using, technology, there are paper applications available at the schools, like the central office of the schools. Give them my name, contact info is on the website. I'm happy to talk to anyone, anytime, answer any questions, but I just want to let you guys know that we're here to help and also to take your money. Thank you very much.
Can you give us some sense of how many families or individuals
Sure,
over
of
the
course.
last
Yeah,
year
so-
or a typical year you would help?
Typically, we average about 25-ish grants a year. So it's 25 families, individuals, whatever. Our budget ranges, between like 20 or 30 grand a year. We're a small organization, totally volunteer run. We have a 4-person executive committee. We pretty much make the decisions on kind of a grant by grant basis. And then the larger committee meets twice a year to tackle some of the bigger picture issues.
And typical grant size would be about what?
Average is about 800. And the reason for that is that's about a month's rent in some of the apartment buildings in the district.
Mm.
And so it's kind of like a good benchmark of, kind of what people need to get them through.
Mm.
Obviously, If they just need help with groceries for a couple weeks, it's less. Sometimes it ends up being a little bit more, but
Yeah.
usually around.
Great.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
what Jackie refers to, I think you're correct. Obviously, through your experience on the committee, that in the affluence that the area generally enjoys, we sometimes look past and don't observe there's people tucked away who need some help from time to time.
Yeah, and I
So-
will say that, people, first of all, are incredibly appreciative of the help, but also very, reluctant. They are not comfortable coming forward. And so
Right.
the relief that they feel when they realize, I just have to ask, is palpable. It's a really nice feeling to be able to help these people.
Right, and I know that the committee always handles things discreetly
Absolutely.
with to keep the people who are reaching out and needing something, let them preserve their dignity and have confidence in receiving the aid without being embarrassed by it. So,
Absolutely. That's fair.
and there's no need for them never to be embarrassed by it,
Yeah.
but that's the way some people obviously would react. But so I appreciate very much. It's a great time of year for you to come visit us and remind everyone of the organization. So thank you.
Sure. Thanks very much.
Jackie, you can leave. It's okay, despite what the mayor said. So.
I have a
Oh,
comment
what's
at the
the
end.
website? What's the website again?
It's orangeareaservice.org.
Yeah, what we'll do is we're going to, for our next Pepper Pike post, we'll throw this up at least to provide a current link
Right.
for people so that they'll understand that the organization is there, what you do. You've got this nice, we'll provide a link to your site so people will see it.
I know the newsletter that just came out last week, we were in there, so
Right.
that's already.
Okay, so Becky's already
Which I
taken,
appreciate, yeah.
I thought she might have.
she's all over it.
She's on it, yeah.
All right. We'll do it again. We'll give you another
take
kickstart,
it.
okay? All right, so thank you very much again for being here. Next, we will move on to Resolution 2022-25. This is the request for the county fiscal officer to advance taxes in accordance with law. Mr. Brzezinski?
Thank you, Mayor. This is just another annual resolution. Basically, we have to let the county know that we want advances of our real estate taxes like we get it every year before they settle the first half, and we do the same thing for the second half. Without this resolution, we won't receive our money until one lump sum when they finalize first and second half.
Okay,
Does anyone not do this?
I have no idea. I don't know why you wouldn't.
And
To
so
me,
why is it a process?
I don't know why there's a process, because who wouldn't want their money in advance?
It's just bureaucracy for the sake of bureaucracy?
Yep.
Why?
there's no reason you should have to ask for this.
No.
Keeps
What?
me on my toes, make sure I do it every year.
Jeez. Okay,
I even asked in a prior life whether I could do a continuing
resolution?
resolution. They said, no, you have to do it every year.
Because you might change your mind.
Why would you?
Exactly.
My goodness.
Something about that good old Ohio Revised Code makes us. All right, could we have a motion for the
So
adoption of
moved.
Resolution 2022-25?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Can I vote?
Or Ms. Zatron? Sorry.
Yes.
Ms.
All
Weltman?
right, let her vote.
Mr. Daga?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili? Dr. Wall?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We can get our money, Joe. Yay.
Good.
Next, we see the introduction of ordinance 2022-26. This is allowing us to do a nice thing, an exciting thing. There is a grant application, not a grant, we've been awarded through the Cuyahoga County an additional $250,000 for the paving of Shaker Boulevard. This was, let Don take us through just what this was.
They have a process where they help participate in resurfacing projects up to $250,000, and we applied for the funds and we got it. So it's
Right.
We can.
From the county?
From the county, yes. And
Do
we'll
we
be,
get this every year or?
no. This is project specific.
Okay.
And we do apply for projects, and this is one that we've gotten it other times in the past.
Does it have to be on a county road?
Yes. And it helps offset, obviously, we were going to do the resurfacing where the sewer was going, so this just helps offset some of that
Right.
cost.
And most of our through streets are county roads, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so no, we're very glad that the county saw fit to make this award to us, so appreciate it. First, we will need a motion to suspend.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atruk?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Daga?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
And next, motion for the adoption of ordinance 26.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atruk?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Daga?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Great.
Quick question, Mayor. When will this paving take place? 23?
It should be 23, yeah. Once the sewer work is done, we'll be looking at bidding out the paving in summer of next year.
Okay, thanks.
Next, we will entertain a motion for the service director to sell a 2010 Ford F-250 Super Duty pickup truck on Gov Deals. What a name, a Super Duty.
I love that.
It's had some Super Duty, so it's got 106,000 miles on it. We've already have purchased its replacement, and the replacement's in service. So this is just getting the older vehicle out of our system before it's got some mechanical issues starting to come up.
Okay,
So we chose this vehicle to get replaced this year, and it's on-
so everyone should get their bids in early and often. Do we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions about this truck?
So Jim has taken over the used truck
That's right.
franchise.
That's right. That's right.
that Bob used to run.
That's right. That's right. He'll come shake your hand, but keep your hand on your wallet. You gotta be careful.
Those without permanent
Yeah, we
buyers,
usually went to Highland Hills, correct? But they got enough of our stuff.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atruk?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Daga?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Great. Next, we'll hear from our committees and department heads. Are we missing any committee reports since we were last together?
Planning?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Is there a planning meeting that we're missing?
Yeah, we didn't do the most recent one.
Okay, please.
I don't think we did. There were two items, Medina Creative Housing requesting a variance on the project on the Ursuline Sisters property. So it was just an extension of the variance. It was a 1 year. We did have some discussion talking about the fact that on these larger projects, it's very common to need more than a year to get a project kind of underway and planned. So that extension was granted. There were no changes. It was just extending the time frame.
Melanie, a little more about that. Is that going forward or is it still early stages or have the sisters agreed that it can be built? I'm curious what's happening there.
Well, there was a use variance.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
right.
and so the understanding is that it is going forward, although there are only preliminary plans presented. So certainly not buildable plans, nothing that's really come before either planning and zoning or, to my understanding, ABR. So, I mean, maybe some views, I'm not sure about ABR having had some conversations or not, but it's still pretty early in the process.
Yeah.
But their intention is to build. The site has moved from an earlier iteration when they got the variance to basically very close to where the original old mother house was.
Mhm.
So it kind of shifted up. Yeah, and there are comments when we've had these, not this last time, but previous to this. Ursuline College, sent a representative, some neighbors to kind of, see what
Okay.
the conversations were.
I ask because it's been all quiet since we went through that, a year ago or more than a year ago?
Yeah.
And I wondered what had happened to the project. So it is at least preliminary going forward.
Yeah, and they did come once with a very, very preliminary drawing. I mean, I think it wasn't even the kind of drawing you could completely
It
present.
was more conceptual than
It was
they received
conceptual. That's it.
preliminary plan approval. But they have a lot of work to do on that plan.
From the sisters or?
No, from the city. They
Oh.
need to submit to us
Sure, sure.
plans to be approved, to receive a building permit, to begin their process. As Melanie mentioned, the grant, our variance procedure is for 1 year,
Mm.
and it's for the completion of the construction. So for a large project that's requiring a variance,
Mm.
it doesn't really accommodate
yeah.
that sort of large project.
Right.
So that's why they had to come back and request an extension to keep the variance.
Of the time only.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So one thing we could consider, you can argue a pro and con, is they don't come along very often, a project of this
Mhm.
size, but to pre-bake, like with requesting our property tax money,
Mm.
to pre-bake a longer period of time, recognizing from the get out, this is not going to
Yeah.
be completed in a year's time.
Yeah.
So.
It
Of
does
course,
feel
we've seen-
uncommon,
We've seen the opposite where it has lingered for a long, long
Right,
time.
and that's the con as to why we would not want to offer that
Right.
upfront.
Right.
Yeah, we had that conversation that maybe we would rather retain control and grant an extension as needed,
Mhm.
and as warranted, as opposed to letting projects
Yeah, right.
have an unlimited,
Yeah.
scope, timeframe. So, and then the other conversation, second time in just maybe a couple of months, a request for a variance regarding a riparian setback, with a pool fence. And I don't remember if there was no motion or if we just
They
deferred.
They
They just
withdrew their
withdrew.
motion.
It was very similar to the previous request for a variance that was denied, I believe. The
That
previous one was, or
that failed for lack of a
failed for lack
motion.
of a motion, that's correct. Failed for lack of a motion by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This was similar, different property, different person, but requesting a fence that would actually go traverse the creek. So we'll see if they return with another idea.
Yeah, I know our building department and engineer have been offering up some much more benign ideas as to how they could accomplish their necessary fencing around the pool without violating our riparian setback regulations. So hopefully they'll come up with something. Yes, sir.
When the discussions with or from Medina Creative Housing get serious, would you make sure that, we're alerted to that even more than just the agenda? Because I
Sure.
think, I would personally like to attend some of those planning meetings,
Sure.
and
We'll let you
maybe
know.
some of the others would.
We'll let you know when that's happening.
Okay, great, thank you. And they wouldn't go before architectural before they finish with planning, would they?
No, would they?
Sometimes they go to ARB first to make sure that their building design is going to be okay before they do the final siting of the buildings. But we've had it both ways. We've had people go to ARB first and then come to planning, and some come to planning first and then go to ARB for the final facade treatment. Just to answer I was on the phone with the architect for the project today, as a matter of fact, and it was indicated to me that they're shooting to try to come in January.
So the same comment
For
would
final
be
site
hold
plan
for
approval and
for
ARB.
architectural if they go there first or at the same time?
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else?
That was it. That was all.
Thank you, Melanie. Let's turn to our directors. We're not getting a report from Mr. Lemay right now regarding finance from last month. We had to skip that meeting. As the council knows, we've been in the process of going live with our new finance systems, finance software systems. And I'm happy to report that after the challenges of conversion, we've overcome a certain obstacle that we confronted during the conversion. And we should get back on track, I think, next month with a lot of the reports that you're familiar with and things like that. There's still a couple of hiccups through the conversion process that are slowing things down and making it very complicated to produce, a few of the reports that you're accustomed to. But under Joe's leadership, working with Sheila and Becky, they overcame a fairly significant stumble that was being encountered, working with and the vendor worked with them too to try to overcome what it was. It was nothing, it was recognizing what a difference was in the way certain things were functioning within the system. It really wasn't a problem with the system. It was trying to recognize what this different way that something was being generated and what has to happen to make it more familiar. So Joe's still working on everything. I hope anything you want to add to that, Mr. Brzezinski?
No, I mean, we still got issues with the way the report layout is, but we've had a Zoom call with them today, and we're gonna have one again next week.
You'll be set for finance next week, though, report wise.
Yeah, whether we have a meeting next week or not, that's still up in the air, with the mayor talking, but by
We've never had a
Monday.
meeting the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh.
In the last,
But a report will be sent out.
we'll send the report out.
That'll come out probably Monday.
Okay.
And that will be
Any-
October's results?
Correct.
And nothing, from what you've seen, nothing, it's all getting the report out as opposed to the report being wrong.
The system is functioning well, like the mayor said, we've, fixed a little bug in that. It's the way the old reports used to come out printed and the ease of then taking that, because it's still time consuming to get them into the financial reports, the way that you guys are familiar with. And now it's even more complicated. So we're debating on, is there a way to get a customizable report out of their system? Is there a cost associated with that?
Yeah.
Or are we gonna have to just put in more work and try to create an Excel spreadsheet?
Which is not what this system promised, at least
Correct,
we hoped, right?
correct.
Is it fixable to do what we wanted, or is it?
Anything's fixable.
Yeah, time and money, right, but,
Yeah, but yeah, that's what we're working out.
okay.
But like for the October report, it's not fixed, so it's gonna be intense Excel spreadsheet working to get it to work.
Wow, that's
So
too bad.
it does produce a report,
Oh, sure.
though. Is the
But-
format?
Yeah, October balanced.
Yes,
The month balanced.
the money's there.
It-
Well, that's the first, most important thing, that it's not wrong.
Yeah, it's not wrong. It's generating the
detail is
information in a format
Yeah.
that's both workable by Joe to generate things like the LeMay report.
Right,
things like
right,
that.
right.
It's just a very awkward conversion at this point still.
I mean, a simple example could be, say, the police department. The old report broke it down and gave all the line items that related to personnel, then all the line, then a subtotal, then all the line items that related to other operations, and then a subtotal. And then it added those two and it gave a grand total for the department. The way the report comes out now, it takes every single account and runs it all the way through police and comes up with the total.
Huh.
So either on, an adding machine or now we've got it converted where it looks pretty clean in Excel, but now we're gonna have to go in and create those subtotals.
Yeah.
It's a little clunky.
So it's
Wow.
just, we're not viewing this at this point more than many of the familiar bumps that you anticipate but can't predict in a conversion process. You don't know some of this stuff till you do it, and then you see what the bumps are. That's just the way a conversion works. I've seen it in other situations where people are converting finance programs.
So can the company that sold it to us come in and make some adjustments? I mean, they sold it to us.
Well, that's what we're working.
And Joe's working his
Ah.
magic.
I gave him an analogy today that hit home. That, you're going out to buy a car and you go to pick it up at the dealership and it's got no tires. And then I would have said, I never would have bought the car if I knew it didn't come with tires.
Uh-huh,
So we're getting there.
okay, great.
So, anyway, thanks, Joe. Since we're not having, predictably right now, unless things change, a meeting next week, I thought it was important that we at least.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys up.
Yeah.
As to where things were.
Yep.
Let's turn to Don for a moment. I think we're done with our committees. So let's go to our department heads. Don, could you catch us up on a few things we've had over the last week? Gates Mills Boulevard closed because of a large regional sewer project going on there. The police have been very engaged and active, making sure that the traffic smoothly detoured onto Kerrsdale. Why don't you catch council up as to what that project, where
Sure.
it stands?
Yeah, the project is actually a regional sewer district project. It is the work in that detention basin. They're making some modifications. We've talked about this a few times, but this is actually the construction work. They bought and demolished a house on the south side of the road, and that is where a large pipe is going across the street, and it dumps out into the backyard, which is where that detention basin emptied originally. That work is taking a little longer. They encountered an issue with a precast manhole that had to be built a different way that really required them to shut down that lane. The original intention was to keep the eastbound roadway open. Because of the size of the structure that they had to order to put it in this one spot, really the only safe way to do it was to close the lane down. So they asked if they could do it. They gave us a detour plan. It worked with service department and police and fire, and pretty quickly they were able to get the detour plan up. It's going to be closed for a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and actually, Jim made a good. They originally were sending people a very long route that didn't really make a whole lot of sense, and we came up with a better plan to make it a shorter detour, and they'll hopefully get that taken care of pretty quickly. The weather, they got socked with the big rainstorm that occurred last Friday. It was a couple inches of rain that came down here, and that kind of pushed them back another couple days, but they're continuing to work on it. So when it's done, the basin itself will actually have a little bit more storage than the old basin. The way the water will flow through that new basin will actually help clean it up a bit more. And the outlet pipe will have more capacity, so that will really reduce the chances of that basin overtopping and coming out into the road, which it has done at least a handful of times in the past 20 years.
Don, did they bore underneath the road, or did they remove a piece of the road?
It's an open cut.
Ah.
So yeah, they needed to cut through the pipe they're putting across. There's one pipe that's a 60-inch diameter, so a 5-foot diameter pipe. And then there is another section that's about a 24-inch line that runs parallel to the roadway that also had to be installed. And there's really no other way to do it other than open cutting it.
No, well, listen, in the end, we have to appreciate the effort and the dollars that Regional is investing in this stormwater project and others around the city, because that's contributing in a major way to the elimination of some of the flooding situations that we've experienced in Pepper Pike, in the past. And in this last rainstorm Friday, other than there was one spot where we experienced some brief flooding, but it was because a culvert backed up. It was blocked. So that's a mechanical thing as opposed to a structural thing really going on. So we're really doing well so far as our stormwater efforts. So
Yeah, the original detention basin, just a little bit of trivia, was installed for less than $200,000 in 1999-ish dollars. and regional spent 10 times that amount.
Hmm.
to
Where
do
does
the
that
project.
retention basin empty into ultimately?
It's a branch of Pepper Creek.
It is.
There's a couple of branches, one that flows through Ursuline College and one that flows through Gates Mills Boulevard, and they meet up in some backyards on Gates Mills Boulevard, and then they flow across Lander Road into the country club.
I'd like to thank the police department for posting on Facebook that it was going to be closed and how to reroute. 'Cause I had no idea until I saw that post on Monday morning. I was like, oh, good to know.
And I'd like to thank the police department for running radar there because a
Yeah.
lot of people are cutting, they come up on that detour, and so they make that left turn and they head down and they're just going like a bat out of hell.
Mhm.
And so to slow people down, you've got radar working there.
Yeah, no, the chief, we try to get the message out. That we did a code red announcement that the chief narrated. And I know it was out on the police Facebook and Instagram accounts, as well as probably the city Facebook account. So hopefully we got it all. Most people were hopefully not surprised, but you can only tell them so many times. So, okay, great.
Also, in the coming weeks, very soon they're going to start work on the Shaker Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Project. So
Great.
working with the contractor, getting some more details about the timing, when they're going to start mobilizing. Some of the pole work has already started. You may have seen some of that, but the road's been open, so it hasn't been a problem. We'll again work with service, fire, and police on any kind of detours or rerouting of traffic. But talking to the contractor, the most recent conversation is they're going to try to have multiple crews in there to shorten the duration of the time that the project will take to put in.
Right. And there are letters going out to every household along that way
Right.
in the next day or two, announcing this. So
And how
getting
will
people
they,
ready.
how will they be running the traffic? Will it be one way or?
But we're talking about the details of it right now. They're talking about running it one way westbound.
Okay.
So people will be able to come from that way towards the center of town, but then they'll need to either take, Fairmount or South Woodland to get back to the other, to loop around that way. Some of the subdivisions already have other routes to get out to, well, actually one of them has a route to get out to Lander Road, but some of the smaller ones in the center, they really would have to flow through a one-way traffic to get through it.
Yeah. And we're coordinating with the schools, of course, so that the bus lines
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. They can start planning how they're going to run their bus lines.
The good news is it's, a lot of it will get done, I'm assuming, through the summer and they won't be running.
Well, no,
You'll have the
they're
spring.
actually doing it in the winter. They're hoping to get started here. And,
I mean, they're starting, but
but if it goes well, they might be able to get it done in maybe 4 months.
really, so, oh, wow. That's great. That's a big stretch.
We'll see. I mean, there's still going to be cleanup work and all that kind of stuff, but
Uh-huh.
actually installing the main line, the big stuff is the goal is to try to get it done in an expedited pace by having multiple crews out.
That's
And work through
fantastic.
the,
Wow.
work through the winter. though.
Yeah, they'd work through the winter.
Okay. Jim, do you have any?
Mayor spoke about the rain last Friday. We did have 2 inches of rain, and the city fared very well. So all this money that's getting spent on stormwater really seems to be helping out, because we had one, like you said, Lander Road blocked up, but it was only a catch basin, and there was leaves in it, and catch basins collect leaves, and that's what blocked it off. The department got out there rather quickly and opened it up. We shut the road down for about a half an hour, and thanks to the police helping us out with that. And so, I mean, there's a lot of money being spent, but it seems to be really
Yeah.
working out.
So council knows 2 inches of rain in that span of time, we would have seen flooding. So,
Pretty good. We still have a couple of projects finishing up. They're working on Lander south of the circle right now, doing some concrete repairs. And Pine Brook, side streets getting some concrete repairs. So that's it.
okay, thank you. Chiefs, anything?
Just from any road to lock your doors. We did have some strange incidents towards the end of summer. More information did come back to verify that somebody was in a woman's home. She found him in her bedroom sleeping during the summer. And recently we received calls from a couple of residents saying that a man was walking around the house. She thinks checking a slider and just left. So just remember to lock your doors when you're not home or when you are home or sleeping, to prevent things like that from happening.
Yes, and I appreciate the chief bringing that up. Obviously, no one likes to hear about what's, apparently someone with some mental health issues who comes to visit every now and then. But it's something that the community needs to be aware of. Happy to bring those things to everyone's attention so that you can be careful. And I'm sure there'll be something on probably Instagram or one of the police posts, just cautioning people. It's nothing to panic about. It's you don't shut down a city for a one-off, but people just keep it in their frontal lobes that as safe as we always feel, things happen, and you just have to be aware. So thank you. That said, it'll turn to me. We had the good news tonight of the in ordinance 26, where we accepted basically the hoped for but not necessarily anticipated granting of that $250,000 for the repaving of Shaker Boulevard. That's good news. It's we don't plan with that in the budget for that project, so it's very welcome to receive that money. On the other hand, I bring to council's attention that our application this year to participate in the Regional Sewer District's grant program, community share program, where we would have, which is what we fund the future sewer projects with. We were not awarded that this year. It was a highly competitive process. And so this year we were not awarded a grant for that. So fortunately we have, well, not fortunately, because of the pandemic and all, we've stacked up a couple projects here. So I don't think it's necessarily going to cause any delay in our proceeding ultimately with future plans. But I think it is a good cautionary reminder that no one should view these regional sewer grants as a given. They highly competitive, and hopefully will be successful the next time around. But for now, we're going to focus on getting the projects we have underway taken care of.
When you say highly competitive, does that mean more competitive than in prior years?
No, different programs, different people apply for different things in different years. And sometimes your scoring ends up in a good spot so far as receiving an award. And sometimes someone else does.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
it's more applications for money there is.
Yeah, I guess trying to determine whether, back when Cleveland and the water system, and they were, granting replacement money for water lines.
Right,
There weren't a lot of people asking for money at the beginning.
right.
And so, if you were bold enough to ask, you got. And I'm just wondering if that same kind of thing is happening now, because after a while, it became much harder to get the money because everybody figured, well, geez,
Right,
this is free money. Why aren't we getting some?
right. When you have some big town like Parma, 7th largest city in Ohio, join the Cleveland Suburban Water Agreement, all of a sudden you got a big demand
Right.
that just showed up.
Right.
For the Cleveland Water, for instance, there's a conversation about raising, right now their resources per year is $15 million. And they're looking to increase that. I've had those discussions with them to increase that. So from the water line aspect, it's more. To your point, I've also had those discussions with the regional sewer district, and I know they have it under review, to try to increase the available money for their community share program. Because there is, you're exactly right. As as people become more and more aware of the programs, and they observe other cities, getting awarded grants for important projects, new cities suddenly show up, and that it's an issue. It's not unfair to anyone,
No.
but
No.
it's a reality of the success of the program. Yes.
Which part of Shaker is this? Is it the 2C one, or like which one was denied?
We actually went for a grant for Edgedale Road,
Oh,
so not part of the Shaker section.
okay.
And I'll just add a little bit to what the mayor said. There's copycats out there as well. They see the success of different communities, and then they realize, oh, this is something that can be funded. So you end up having a little bit more competition because you're
Right,
successful.
that's what I was trying to get at.
And it may
yeah.
not necessarily be the total number, but then other people are submitting better grants because they can get
Well,
a copy of grants that we've submitted and
Yeah, I mean, if there's any need factor, then we start to fall down the.
Yeah, this is more based on the pollution factor,
Mm.
and we still rank pretty high with the failing septics, so that those are competitive projects. But there's other types out there where they're looking at relining old sanitary sewer systems in inner ring suburbs and that type of thing too. So all of those things have to compete for the same funds.
Yeah, we had a meeting this week, Council, of all the department heads, in which the conversation was essentially to recognize the new world of potentially available money through federal dollars and the infrastructure legislation that the feds have adopted and passed, which is great. It's going to flush in the next couple of years, a lot of money out into the system that hasn't been there previously. But it's going to be a highly competitive thing. I've had meetings along with other mayors with NOACA, describing different programs that may become available, and we're getting ourselves well organized so that we can recognize and apply for the correct grant opportunities that we may recognize that'll help this city. So it's a dynamic environment, and we're trying to operate in it. Yes.
I know it's difficult, but do we have kind of like a long range plan that we can kind of let residents know about ahead
Long
of
range
time?
plan of what? I'm
For
sorry.
like projects like this for sewer conversions or grant applications, so that we know which grant applications are being put in, so people can kind of plan in advance because it costs a lot of money.
No,
Or are we going to proceed even if we don't get to?
Specifically for the sewer, the sanitary sewer conversions, people can rely on that we will consistently be applying so long as it's available and we have a need for the regional sewer districts community share program. So is this the community share program?
This is community. No, it's
That's
the
the other one.
municipal MCIP.
This is the MCIP. But they have another program where part of our storm sewer fees are rebated to us. That's the community share. This is the other. We'll always be applying for that. And it's
What-
long range. We cannot, because of the dynamics of where the pollution is registering the highest, where there's a pretty dynamic matrix, I suppose, that has to be constantly reviewed and evaluated by Don as to what logically hooks up into the existing systems that we have. What is the available money that we might anticipate is going to be there, and it's fluid, and we have to be nimble to work the whole project. It's not something that you can ever lock in stone and say, this is the next one, absolutely, this is where we're going. And as we see, this Shaker project that's going to finally start within weeks. When did we apply for that money?
I think that was in 2019.
2019. So these things evolve, and what everyone in the community should recognize is that they can create their own sinking fund if they would, either for getting money for themselves gathered for when finally their sanitary conversion comes to be. It may be years before that happens. Or, if they have a complete collapse of their septic, although we're working in a positive way with County Board of Health, so far as trying not to, cause people to preemptively replace their older aeration system. If there's a collapse of their system, obviously they have to replace it. And since that's a lump sum payment that anyone's going to have to make, I would encourage anyone to, as with any potential large home costs that they may face, to save for it. No one should need be surprised that in the maintenance of their home, there are going to be some big expenses that they may unexpectedly face from time to time. So that's what people need to do. The next thing, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. Because of that, as I alluded to earlier, it is the tradition that we recognize that given many people on council's travel schedules, perhaps wanting to be making stuffing on Wednesday night as opposed to being here, that as well as our devoted audience members, that maybe we do not have that meeting the Wednesday evening before Thanksgiving. And so unless there is some great cause that we have to get together next week, we will be canceling next week's city council meeting. I sent out today a Thanksgiving email to the community. And in that, what we did was again, we reset and opened up again the city's link to the Cleveland Food Bank, and invited the community to please again participate as generously as it has in the past in supporting the Cleveland Food Bank. This is as we heard from Jackie earlier from the Orange Area Service Committee, this can be a very tough time of year for a lot of families. We live, in our own, hopeful relative ease so far as making ends meet and having a very nice celebration next week. There are other families, even families very nearby, who we may not realize are struggling to have that same quality of a Thanksgiving next week that we all enjoy. And I would invite and encourage everyone to please go to our link in the Pepper Pike Post today and contribute whatever you can. Since $1 buys, 3 meals, it used to be 4, now it's 3, that people do what's right. And make whatever contribution you have, 5, 10, 50, 100 more dollars, whatever you want to put in there. You're going to help literally restore thousands of meals. I was at since we were last together, the Cleveland Food Bank opened its new facility, which it has been building the last several years, and which it built not with its Harvest for Hunger dollars, but through other contributions that it has worked very hard to accumulate. And it's a facility that is twice the size of their Waterloo facility, new ones on Coit Road, about 5 minutes away. And to give you a sense of the urgency and the need, this facility doubles the warehouse space for the food that it will warehouse to distribute. They still have, I think it's like a 2-week turnover of that warehouse. It's incredible how quickly this food comes in and goes out. Their hot kitchen facility increases from 5,000 to 20,000 meals a day that it can push out. It's a lot. There are a lot of people in this region within minutes drive of where we're sitting who need help. And I urge anyone to recognize that, and then it's a good thing. It's the best thing you'll do today to help feed a hungry child. So I hope you all do it. And with that, I wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, though. I hope everyone can be with their family and with people who they love and want to spend the day with. So thanks all for being here. Thanks. That goes to everyone in the audience, of course. And thanks for coming out tonight. Council, any comments or anything you need to add tonight?
I
Dr.
just
Long?
wanted to maybe put on the agenda for next meeting, maybe revisiting like our AV equipment.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Revisiting our AV equipment. I think it's great
Oh,
that
AV
we're-
equipment.
Yeah, AV. I was part of a meeting, a Zoom meeting, and they used this device called an OWL, and it's a plug and play. It's like $1,100. It gives you a span of the whole room, and then focuses on people that are talking, and you can do it with Zoom and things like that. And I was just wondering if possible. I think it's great that we have council meetings broadcasted, but maybe with everything coming up with the planning commission and the finance committee, maybe having those also on.
Well, if you have information about equipment, I think Scott's probably the best person to flip it over to. He works with the administration so far as trying to figure out the equipment. I've been watching Sheila's monitor this evening, and I think we stayed up all night.
Yeah.
So that's good. We've been working through a few technical glitches over the last several meetings. A lot of it was simply cabling issues, I think, a lot of it. Some of it was bandwidth signaling type issues, but tonight seems to have gone pretty well, which is good. I think that, pass it on to Scott. I think what's important is that we keep this as simple as we can, because with the system we have, we see things can go sideways pretty quickly. And when we see how many people actually participate in seeing things, I think we're at a pretty good spot right now, but happy to review what it is that you're suggesting.
Oh, and Mayor, I think if any other members of council have any thoughts about how, if you want to increase the complexity of the equipment, if we want to change that, I don't know if that's a meeting thing or if it's something we just discuss.
Yeah.
Have there been complaints or requests from people who log in that,
No.
it doesn't work right, or I can't hear, or?
Generally, we get about 3 or 4 people even
Total?
logging in at all.
Okay.
So how many do we have on right now? We have 6 people online right now. And one of them is her. I don't know if anyone else in the audience. So,
So-
this is not a high demand. We're not fighting Game of Thrones for an audience. Here.
It's
And they're in rerun. So anyway, anyone else on council?
Your quote from Lincoln is always appreciated. Any quote from Lincoln is appreciated.
Our greatest president.
Thank
as
you.
they say. You're welcome. All right, we will move on then. If there are no more council comments, any audience comments? Jackie, yes.
Jackie Godick, 27 Hunting Hollow Drive. I just wanted to say I appreciated the update regarding the survey for the sidewalks. It was nice to, get confirmation that the process is moving on and what's going on and kind of what to expect. So the sort of transparency into the process was much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
So on that point, Mr. Mayor, will council get a shot at the survey, not to wordsmith it, just to see what's there before it goes out? I would like to
hadn't
see it just to
really
make
talked
sure
about
that there's not a giant policy issue that no one thought of. I doubt it. But it'd be nice just to give it one read before it's finalized.
Let us talk about that offline.
All right.
We'll talk about it. Okay. Anything else? Oh, we're in the audience part. I forgot. Mary Ann, go ahead.
Mary Ann Lutchen.
I know you want to get out of here and get to the Cavs. You want to get,
Yeah, I do. Talk fast. Mary Ann Lutchen, 29826 South Woodland. I was sort of curious when I read on the motion to adjourn for the purpose of discussing the purchase or sale of real estate. Because there was an article in the Plain Dealer and then actually in the Chagrin Valley Times about the Cleveland Metro Parks moving to expand the South Chagrin Reservation in Solon. And the property, part of the Hawthorne Valley Country Club, would cost the park district more than 3.8 million for the 149 acres. And so they have sought a grant to cover more than half of the cost. And I'm just curious because I didn't know that we had, that we were talking about purchasing some or what that is. So I was just curious as to, is this going to be purchasing or selling, or do we have any clue?
well, it's,
what the
with
executive
all respect, that's why we take it into executive session, because we do not discuss the purchase and or sale of real estate in public sessions.
And then I had one other thing. Did anybody have any calls in with the water, that they had water come in their basement or house last Friday?
We had one call.
Okay.
And we don't think it was associated with the
I'm
city.
not certain that, it's in the same area as the street flooding, but I don't think it's related. So we are going to do some investigation on that house. Because just to see that, make sure that he's hooked up the way he's supposed to be, not hooked up into a catch basin, which is detrimental to their house.
The house is elevated well above the street,
Yeah.
and it doesn't appear that they should be related to the flood. And anyone else? Yes, sir.
Jim Weaver, 31176 East Landerwood Road. I've been a citizen of Pepper Pike for about 35 years. This first council meeting I've come to since the Battle of Beach Brook, and it's nice to see a manageable group. Before I say anything, I always like to take the opportunity to thank the police department, the fire department, the service department. You guys do a great job. You get beat on in the press, you get beat on everywhere else. And lots of nasty things happen, and I, for one, and my wife, for one, are extremely appreciative of what you do. I tried to get caught up a little bit on the sidewalk issue. I tried to read, I don't know how many pages of survey comments on the sidewalks, and I've submitted this to Sheila. I've got several points to bring up. One of them is I agree with somebody in the survey that reminded us all that nothing is free. Somebody's paying for everything. So if anybody says that sidewalks are gonna go in, it's free and it's no cost to the residents, that's a bunch of BS. It's a cost to the residents that pays taxes to the state. It's a cost to the residents that pay taxes locally. So somebody's paying for those sidewalks. One of the questions I had is, what's the master plan? And I know we've talked about that before, that the city's built out. But how do sidewalks fit in the overall goal of Pepper Pike? Where does it stand as far as costs relating to changing Lander Circle, which we used to hear a lot about, and I haven't heard anything about it for a long time? Where does it cost a fit as far as buying what you brought up are vacant lots to enhance green space? Where does it fit as far as financially assisting taxpayers with sewer installation? Is the goal still for Pepper Pike to remain a bucolic community as stated in the internet? And if it's not, who changed it and why? The question is, and I don't expect any answers, I've submitted it and you guys can just
Yeah,
look at it.
Jim, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
We do have it. I don't know. Did you just get this before the meeting? We'll make sure that we circulate this. We'll include it, your questions in it. If,
Fair enough. And I would like to add one last comment.
Yeah.
Right before I came here, I was trying to think why it is that I'm so opposed to sidewalks. I was born and brought up in Shaker Heights. Since I was 5 years old, I've had access to sidewalks. And I was trying to decide what is it that I object to with sidewalks. And I finally decided that what it was is, as much as some people like the sidewalks and how they appear in orange, I think they're hideous. I drive frequently from Cedar Road to Lander Circle and South Woodland. And I did it a couple of weeks ago on the way back from somewhere. And it was blue sky, beautiful greenery on both sides of the road. Then I went on through the intersection and hit orange. And I saw what I considered hideous white ribbon of concrete going up and down the street. And so one of the things that I was asking, and it may seem stupid, but if sidewalks looked like grass, people wouldn't be so opposed to them. And I was wondering, I've done a little bit of research, you can color concrete.
you can.
And even though it may look awful, had anybody ever considered doing a test with the color of the concrete? That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Good. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
I thought it was.
Okay, Richard, you had your hand up.
I anticipated that there would not be a council meeting next week, so I came tonight so I could wish everyone the best for Thanksgiving holiday. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. Same to you.
Thank you.
Same to you. Anyone else? Mr. Knapp.
Manning Knapp, Sound Center Road. Today's the 37th anniversary of us moving into our house on Sound Center. Tidbit of trivia on here. Just a couple quick items on here. I've got some stuff, I guess I won't go through it all. I'll give it to Sheila to put it in this if you pass that. But As first, I'll start with the item of the city of great in regards to we have financially sound, the service, the police department, and all the services here. They honestly are second to anybody. So thank you for all the things that you folks have done in the county. But I think that we always need to look at what can we do better. And so with that, so sometimes I may not say, enough, hey, look, we've done extremely well on here, but there's a lot of things where we really do need, to improve on here. And one of the items, I guess I was surprised last week, and I won't go through the whole list here at the beginning, but I was surprised last week when we said with the new survey that it wasn't going to be used then to develop a major long-range plan for the city. And that was kind of, surprising in regards to, there's so many different things that do need to be done. Sewer projects, audiovisual improvements on here. Do we have a plan? Because I know that, seeing in the agenda, they were talking about purchasing some land. Do we have a land conservancy, program on here? Is there anything that we put into, the budget, for those type of items each year? I know we do things for roads and buildings and things like that, but, where's our master plan, for that? Parks Commission, other cities have, parks commissions that people participate in. And the item with the sidewalks, and I've mentioned this several times in the past, and haven't gotten any traction on it. I just want to mention again, the first item here is the survey that goes out. We should be able to look at that data and look to see how the responses come to people that actually live on the streets where the sidewalks are going to be versus the rest of the community. If everyone's in favor of building the sidewalks, great, build the sidewalks. But I don't think it should be at the expense of the people that are going to be directly affected. So the way that the survey data should be able to easily be constructed, and I agree with, Jim Lenay's comment. If you all would please, look at these questions and see if we're gonna get the answers that we're really, looking for to what the public is wanting, on here. And I think that what has to happen, what should happen, if the database is correctly, we'll be able to see, okay, is there a significant majority of people that live on those streets that want it? Or basically, is it the majority of people that aren't, on those streets that want it? And I think that it's our responsibility, as community members, if the majority of people, if there isn't a significant majority of people on those streets that want it, we shouldn't be forcing it on them. Unless you're able to say to us, before you do your final run through and looking at the survey, if that survey isn't going to lead us to that type of data on here, then the survey isn't ready to go out. The survey is not ready to go out if we can't extract, that type of clarity, from the data, that comes back on here. So the overall thing, at the end is that we should be asking people what they like and what they don't like. I go through, line items on here, and probably there's more. But with that, those items then should go into what the master plan is, and we should be, coming into a meeting, tonight where item number 12, motion to adjourn to an executive session for the purposes of discussing purchasing or sale of real estate. What is our plan for land acquisition, for keeping the city green? Most other cities have a plan in regards to, saving some of their land on here. And I would hope that we would have one, but we really need a plan. And that's what was asked many times since the beginning of the first survey that happened February 17th of 2021, when the council member said, what is this item about the trail on Gase Mills Boulevard? Okay, we haven't heard of this before. You're asking us to immediately approve that grant application on here. And it wasn't until October that we had, partial survey that was done, last year. And now it's going to be 2 years till we get to the final, whole walkability and greenability of the city, on here. So really take a look at this survey. Let's make sure that it's really doing the things that we wanted to do, and wanted to do being, okay, what do the citizens really want? What are they looking for? What are their expectations? What do they like? What don't they like? And we should be able to, one of the big questions is clean up our database. We've asked many times, how many people, what percentage of people in Pepper Pike participate in the email? And we can't tell anybody, is that 50% of the households that we reach? Is that 25%? We can give a number of people, but we really don't know what percentage that is. It probably, to the numbers that I've seen that have been presented, it's less than 50% of the people. And this survey, the way that it's been described in some of the meetings, how it's going to go out is that there's going to be a mail card, I guess, to everybody. And they send the mail card in, and then you're going to go online to fill out the data. But we should be able to update our database, our email database, because who we send out emails to, I don't know how we purge that database right now. And again, are we reaching probably only 15% of the people? I'm sorry, 50% of the people. And these other people are falling, off the table out here. So again, please take a look at that. And again, thank you for all the things that you've done during the year. Appreciate that. And everybody, happy holidays to you. Oh, the last comment would be.
Okay, well, Manning, it's like time. It's time.
Okay, the last point is, we talked about the number of people that are participating in the meeting. We've taught people not to come. We've made it difficult for people to use that system. You've talked about how cumbersome it was. I tried several times from home, on here, and how many times it cut out and things like that, and people have given up. And the exact example is, think about the number of people that participated electronically when we were under COVID lockdown, and look at the number of people that are here now. There was significantly a larger number of the population that was coming to meetings, that was participating, and there was good dialogue out here. So I'm not looking to replace, this meeting at all, but I think that a good system on here, like you said, with that OWL system on here, we can make it much easier for people. So
All right, thank you. All right, any other comments? Okay, that brings us to the end of the comments. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase or sale of real estate.
Is that gonna, when you rejoin, when you reconvene, is there gonna be other conversations?
No.
Okay, so
Can I have a motion?
So
Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atrox?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Daga?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Mr. Freed, or Dr. Wong?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
She doesn't even look like Mr. Freed.
Okay, for Jill.
I like
He'll be happy you know you remembered him.